So if you were here yesterday, I asked you guys to ask your own biggest question, whatever is the biggest question in your life right now. And do you remember what that question was? Has it already been solved? You never know. I really like that phrase when you ask a question, somebody says, I thought you would never ask. And that reminds me of what God does when we ask really big questions, especially ones we've never asked before. And God says, I thought you'd never ask, because it's hard to answer questions that haven't been asked yet, isn't it? Isn't that sort of the history of humanity so far? It's a species that's been asking questions for thousands and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. Every generation asks a new set of questions. It's like, how are we not going to starve to death? Agriculture. How are we going to build larger living spaces? Architecture. How are we going to construct machines and tools? Metallurgy. We ask questions, we ask questions, we ask questions. We can't stop. Obviously, I think many of you have had kids. I haven't, which is a question that I've asked, but they ask questions. They just ask questions all the time. And finally, as a parent, it's like you just start making crap up because you don't know the answer, right? But God can't answer, the universe can't answer questions that we haven't asked yet. So what's the deal about problems anyway? Aren't we all beset by problems? Isn't humanity beset by problems? Haven't we had to just solve one generational problem after the next? Some problems we never solve. It's like, why do we keep going to war? Why do we keep fighting with one another? Why do we keep destroying our planet? Why do we keep repressing people? And the answers haven't come yet. Maybe it's because we haven't asked the question properly. Maybe it's because we don't want to hear the answer. But whatever a problem is, and let's speak to our own individual problems, any individual problem that we face is a conglomeration of ways of thinking. Every problem, every stuck problem is a stuck conglomeration of thinking and behavior. And the problem can't go away if the thinking and the behavior remains the same. So that's the bold thing about asking a question, is we have to be willing to hear the answer, and we have to be willing to seek around and oftentimes do something different than any way that we've done it before. This unsettles people. A lot of people ask for the answers to big questions, but they're just unwilling to seek, to try something different, to think in a new way, to try things from a different angle. So of course, the problem can only remain stuck in place. This is one of the fascinating things about life coaching, is it's the deepest questions, and having, together working with somebody is to find where's the stuck point of thinking, where's the old ancient pattern of perception that's not being addressed, what actions aren't being taken that could easily be taken. And then sooner or later, the answers come. Sometimes we have to search in a very diligent way to find the answer. Sometimes they just appear. But isn't it fun to search around and find the answers sometimes? I remember reading about Thomas Edison. He tried well over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different filaments for the light bulb before he finally landed on the right one. Some say as many as 1,000 different materials. Now, what's the line between struggling to find the answer and just allowing the answer to come? Well, that's a good question. The answer might be when the seeking is interesting, when it's fascinating, when it's adventuresome, then we know we're onto something. We're Sherlock Holmes of our own existence. And if we're struggling or we're in extreme pain trying to find the answer to something, it's time to relax. It's time to let go. It's time to let the grinding gears of our mind slow down. But the truth is, every problem does have a solution. And isn't there just anything more satisfying than solving a long-standing problem, something that's been poking at us for a long time, to find what it is and not to have that problem anymore, rather than this absurd human notion of putting up with problems as if suffering and resignation were our lot in life. There's a lot of that in spirituality. I hear it all the time. And I don't think it's very noble. I think a lot of our problems we could solve if we were honestly willing to take a look at them, think in new ways, and act in new ways, and let go of thinking that A, there isn't a problem, or B, that the problem doesn't have a solution that is available to us. So this whole week, we're going to be asking these questions. What haven't you asked? What's the biggest problem in your life? Have you really been willing to hear the answer? Are you willing to search? Have you looked? Have you tried something different? Or is it like, oh, this problem, it's so big. It's going to have me by the throat my whole life. Big questions, huh? So as we continue in this process, we'll ask bigger and bigger questions, which means if we're willing, we'll get bigger and bigger answers and solutions. So I thought you would never ask, and have a beautiful day, and we'll continue on this on the morrow. See you.